Welcome back to the You R Immeasurable podcast, season 3. This season is going to be dedicated to those of us that are on our journey of healing and transformation. The focus of this season is going to be to identify and recognize healthy and unhealthy relationship dynamics. We're going to talk a lot about the spiritual tools that we'll need to become acquainted with to help us to stand, to operate in, and to flourish as our authentic self. Things like shadow work, energy healing, which will help us to shred or shed the guilt, the shame that we've been carrying, and also to do some much needed subconscious reprogramming. Now, as always, the episodes are going to air weekly, and the purpose of them is to support you as you embrace and become acquainted with your enlightened and untethered higher self. So I want you to grab your water, your juice, your wine, or your tea or your coffee, and let's toast to each other and our growth, our elevation, and abundance. Welcome back to the You R Immeasurable podcast. I have Sandra Mayeux joining me. She is the CEO of Empower Goddesses, and she is an energy and wound healer and a feminine embodiment mentor. So, Sandra, I want to say thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me. And I'm going to give you the floor right now to go ahead, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. So, like you said, my name is Sandra Mayeux. I have been I would say coach, but I don't particularly like that word. So I'm going to say mentor because that's more me. I have been a mentor for women since 2016 and helping with spirituality, sexuality, empowerment, confidence, getting through difficult things like perimenopause to menopause, coming out of the spiritual closet, increasing your intuition, and healing lots of wounds, and most especially the witch wound. The witch wound. I'm very passionate about healing the witch wound.
I know that this is something that you and I talked a lot about in our previous conversation, because I had heard about the witch wound, but I didn't really know what it was or what it comes from and all of that. Can you break that down for us a little bit?
Absolutely. So the witch wound is a trauma, and it's a trauma that we carry for our ancestors and really for the collective. It's a psychic scar. It is imprinted in each of us. It is a memory of terror, and it's passed down through the generations to the point that literally every soul that is on earth right now carries this trauma. It's a trauma of persecution, terror, judgment, and betrayal. And we all have a connection to it, either through past lives, through our ancestral line, or just through the collective. We are all carrying this wound.
You know, that makes so much sense to me. So much sense. And a couple weeks ago, I was working with another energy healer, and we were working on releasing past stale, stuck energies and things like that, right? And we got to talking, and I said to her, something that has always been with me is like, like we all have your greatest fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
And mine has always been, as far back as I can remember, I've always had a fear of drowning or being burned alive.
Mm.
And so she was explaining to me that part of that comes from, more than likely in my past lives, in several, I was a witch.
Yep.
And how, we're coming, a lot of us know, but some of us still don't, that most of the people that were burned at the stake or all of that during that period were mainly healers. It was people like us that were seen as a threat. And, that's how they took us out, right? Would you say that that has a lot to do also with why the witch wound is so like widespread?
Yeah, the witch wound, it strongly impacts women's throat chakras and tries to keep us silent because we had our power taken away. And it is really scary to want to reclaim it. Really scary. Women and men, about 85% of those killed were women. So mostly women were killed because they had some kind of power. And that does mean they were like healers, crones. The wise older women were big target because they carried the wisdom and they carried the feminine
information
codes within them.
Yeah.
And so anyone who wasn't controlled by a man was a big threat. Women who were sexual, like sensual and sexual. Women who used herbs as medicine. Women who chanted or sang were called witches. If you worshipped Gaia or nature, if you believed in the spirit world, there even having a black cat would get you,
right,
proclaimed as a witch. So basically doing anything outside of societal norms would get you in trouble. And when someone was accused of being a witch, no proof was necessary.
Absolutely right.
So once someone was accused, there was no evidence of guilt needed. They were pretty much killed. And you brought up drowning. We think of burning, and that time period in life is called the burning times. And the time period I'm talking about is between the 15th and 17th centuries. All across Europe, people were killed by the thousands and thousands. The number is actually quite shocking. And I have dived really deep into this, and I see a lot of different numbers, but I have seen everything from 40,000 to 9 million. And scholars who study this, they all say it's at least in the 100,000s, if not in the millions. So we are talking a lot of people were killed.
Wow. Just basically slaughtered. No evidence, no trial, no nothing. That's painful. I'll say that that's painful. And I feel that especially in the United States now, with the whole reversal of Roe versus Wade and all of those things, and women feeling like our voice, our ability to choose, and all of those things are being taken away from us. I feel that this is being awoken in many people that, maybe didn't realize it and, realize it before.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's scary out there. I think we're both in America, but in other countries as well, it's really scary. And I find one of the interesting things about the witch wound is that the most famous witch hunt is Salem, Massachusetts, right here in the US. But
right.
200 people were accused, and only, I think it's 20 were killed. So compared to what I'm talking about, what happened in Europe, that was nothing. That was a few people.
Right. And I think that that is something, as well as being spiritual entrepreneurs, being energy healers and things of that nature. We're here to help people to tap in and see that it's much bigger. It's much more widespread than our own little circles. And that's why a lot of times when it comes to really tapping into your gifts, really tapping into your powers, that it does affect the throat chakra a lot. And that's why so many of us have such a difficult time being able to speak up and being able to say the things that we need to say, because we've been so conditioned that, we're just supposed to sit somewhere, be pretty, and be quiet.
Yeah. The way I got involved with witch wound healing about 6 years ago, my business just wasn't growing the way I wanted it to grow. And one of the reasons was I was absolutely terrified of going live. And so I had a friend, psychic friend, and she put me into like a hypnotic state and asked me what would happen if I went live. And my response immediately was that I would be killed, like literally killed. It felt that unsafe for me to go live. Being in the spotlight, being on the camera felt like an actual death sentence. And as I said that, this flash came in, a remembrance, a past life where I was burned at the stake. I was this beautiful redheaded witch, and I was a healer for my village. And I died horribly because of that. And when I came out of that trance state, I knew that this was the key. And I started researching and looking for ways to heal my witch wound. And I have been, kind of passionate about this ever since. Every year I do a Healing the Witch Wound workshop on Samhain, which is also All Hallows Eve or Halloween, whatever you want to call it, the 31st of October. This year will be my 6th time doing it. And I've had over 300 women come through this workshop. Some even come every year because it is just so healing and so necessary. Because like you said, we're scared of being heard. We're scared of being seen. And I really believe it's time for women to reclaim our power.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you brought up your workshop, because this is the first time, I think when we spoke before, it was the first time that I had heard of it. And I was like, I absolutely want to come. I absolutely want to be a part of this, because this is one thing that I've had to work on in my journey, is similar to you, being afraid to show up and really say what it is that I know I need to say, that I feel in my heart needs to be said. And there's so much fear of judgment and rejection and all of these things that I'm learning are stemming from all of this persecution and all of these things that we've experienced. And it has been passed down through the generations to us, that to the point that most of us don't even really know why we're so terrified.
Right. Well, if you think about it, because this went on for hundreds of years, we carry this trauma either because we were killed as a witch, we were a witness to the executions, we lived in fear because of these witch hunts, or some don't even want to imagine it, but some of us have been the persecutors. So, in the collective, that all still remains. Like we if you believe in past lives, we have probably been on more than one side of this. We may have been a witch and a witness. We may have been a persecutor and a witness. We may have been a witch and a persecutor.
Right. And that is definitely a lot to have to, own up to and reconcile within yourself.
One of the things that I think people have a really hard time with the word witch, because witches have been demonized, right? They're in cahoots with the devil. I mean, that's how we see them. I mean, if you look up, in a dictionary, the definition of the word witch, it's very negative. And that's not what a witch is. A witch is a woman who stands fully in her feminine power. She's a woman in total control of herself. It makes me start singing because there's a little song about that. She doesn't let the patriarchy tell her who she needs to be. And so many of us are waking up to the fact that a lot of our beliefs are not really our beliefs. They've been conditioned into us.
Uh-huh.
And it's time to start like shedding all of that crap and really get back to the owning our power.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
And you brought up like wanting to fit in and be accepted. That is such a huge part in our society of looking for validation from other people. And that comes straight from, the witch wound, because people turned on each other.
Right.
These weren't big cities. These were little tiny villages. These people all knew each other. And yet there was so much chaos and so much fear that sisters turned on each other. This is where the sisterhood wound comes from as well. Friends turned on each other. Neighbors turned on each other. Maybe they had something to gain from turning somebody in, and maybe they just did it out of fear.
Yeah.
But, that fitting in, like, it is literally programmed in our brains that we have to fit in or we're going to die.
Yeah. Being that one to be different, being that one to speak out when everyone else is holding their tongue or what have you. Yeah. Yes, it is something that has definitely become a great cause for anxiety. Yeah, I'll say that. And then again, going back to understanding how it changed in an instant for so many, so many people. And yeah, this being passed from generation to generation is something definitely that needs to be talked about, needs to be healed, needs to be, I don't necessarily want to say dealt with, but you know what I mean, acknowledged and brought to the forefront so that we can do the work and get the healing that we definitely deserve. And as you said, get back into our power.
Yeah.
So that we could do what it is that we were incarnated to do.
Yeah, because the message of the witch hunts was keep your head down. Don't stand out in any way. Don't speak up. Don't be seen. Keep your head down. If you don't, this is going to happen to you. And so we still fear that having the spotlight on us. We fear being judged or being not accepted. And what that does is it makes us not be our authentic selves.
Absolutely.
We hide who we are to fit in.
Yeah.
So that we don't stand out.
Yeah, absolutely. I am just beyond excited about this work that you're doing. I'm excited for the workshop because like I said, yeah, I will definitely be there because yeah, I need all of this. And I know a lot of others do as well. So we'll make sure that all of the links and everything that you guys need to get in contact with Sandra. And if you want to attend the workshop, though, that information will be in the show notes. So again, Sandra, I appreciate you for coming and talking to us and sharing your message and your magic with us. Before we go, is there anything else that you want to tell us about as far as your programs or anything like that, or give us more information about the workshop?
Sure. The workshop is very deep healing. It was literally, I work with goddesses, and this workshop was co-created with Hekate and Lilith, two dark goddesses that are very, very powerful. And so this is deep, deep healing. It's about a 2-hour workshop, and I hate to say it's life-changing, although several testimonials say that. So I am going to say it. It is truly life-changing. It's that major. And one thing I do want to share, and this is just some tips on ways that if you don't come to the workshop, that you could start to work on healing your witch wound and restoring your power. Making yourself more visible, refusing to hide, speaking up, sharing your truth, sharing your stories, your opinions, using that pro chakra. Spending time with other women is really important. Create with other women, collaborate with them like we're doing here today. really spending time with women, because that is healing the sisterhood wound, which came from this. Letting go of spiritual fear. That means coming out of the spiritual closet. Don't hide that you have these skills or these interests. Allow yourself to be powerful. You are powerful. You don't have to do anything to become powerful. You already are. You just have to allow that. Share your divine gifts with the world. We all have divine gifts. So whatever they are, whether they're spiritual in nature or not, just share them. Because so many people who were killed were sharing their gifts as healers, midwives, herbalists. That means that sometimes we freeze and we don't want to share our gifts, but that's why we have them. So share them. Going back to that, be your authentic self. Allow yourself to truly feel and express your emotions. That is a big part of regaining your power, is getting in touch to your emotions. And then I would say trusting your intuition is a huge one. And then embracing your magic. Like, we're all magical beings. So embrace that. Don't be afraid of the word witch or the word magic. Those are just words. And they're who we are, honestly.
Yes, ma'am. I love it. Again, thank you so much for coming and sharing all of that with us. I appreciate you and I honor you and I thank you.
Thank you so much for letting me share something that I'm so passionate about. I appreciate you as well. And I love when women come together and make the world better.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for. So again, I just want to say thank you. And to all of you in the audience, until next time, cheers to your transformation. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the U R Immeasurable podcast. Please remember to subscribe so that you can be notified whenever new episodes are dropped. Also, I'd love to have your feedback and your comments, as well as your 5-star rating. Additionally, if you'd like to connect with me, the show notes list all of my social media handles so that you can do so. So until next time, thank you so much and cheers to your transformation.